The government and the corporations poisoning the environment. The poisoning of the environment by the government and the corporations has been going on for many decades. Huge amounts of toxic air, massive air pollution beyond belief. The sick part about the air pollution is that stuff goes up in the air from the smokestacks. And everybody thinks, wow, it's going up in the air. But what people are failing to realize is that when it goes up in the air like that, it cools off, and then it settles back down to the ground. Just like the aroma of leaves being burnt in the fall time. Everybody loves the smell of the leaves when they're burning, but they don't realize that all these unbelievably nasty chemicals emitted from corporations and government smokestacks and all these cars and trucks and airplanes, it cools off, it settles back to the ground, and you're breathing it. Same with the water pollution, the massive poisoning of our rivers, creeks, lakes, estuaries, and the intercoastal with massive amounts of sewage. Sewage and industrial contaminants and wastes of all kinds, massively toxic, being dumped into our water supplies. Garbage barges, massive garbage barges taking huge amounts of refuse just offshore and dumping it in holes that they blow in the ocean bottom. And in some cases, they take it and dump it off the continental shelf. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID and SARS, Legionnaire's disease, influenza, meningitis, encephalitis, all these deadly infectious human diseases, the government and the corporations and the licensed sewage mistreatment. You see, folks, everybody gets the idea that a sewage treatment plant takes care of all the problems. Well, you'd be amazed how many of those sewage treatment systems don't function. They don't completely function, and they're run by a bunch of monkeys. Now, folks, I guess what I have to do here is I have to point out that New York State does massive amounts of business in North Carolina. The minimum in-state contacts for the state of New York and North Carolina are exceedingly surpassed. The comptroller, the Secretary of State, provided me with an 8-year record of business trips, official business visits into North Carolina. Over 22,000 business trips in a 496-page Excel spreadsheet. That's how much business, official business, New York State does in North Carolina. So the courts in Raleigh, the courts in Wilmington, I beat you on this one. For absolute, positive, certain, the interstate compacts interactions between New York and North Carolina and all the other official business that New York conducts in North Carolina, well, the Secretary of State comptroller records reveal that I'm correct. International Shoe versus Washington State, the minimum in-state contacts have been massively surpassed. So let me sum this video up by saying this. The government, a lot of these so-called environmental protection organizations, have been bought off by the corporations and by the government itself, or themselves, all counties, states, towns, villages, federal government have bought off the environmental protection people because they license these slobs to use our environment for giant septic tank with all kinds of toxins, viruses, bacteria, infectious waste. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID SARS viruses are being dumped all across America, and in fact, it's being dumped all over the world. Now, I'm going to kind of wrap this video up because people get confused about what it is I'm addressing. The bottom line here is the government itself is who's poisoning our people. And, it literally smacks of the Guidestone directives for the elimination of 8 billion people on this planet. It literally smacks of the destruction of the human race by chemicals and infectious wastes. Let's call it what it is. Death Incorporated. Folks, I'm going to leave it right there. All the links and information you could possibly hope for are below. And as always, hasta la vista, God bless, and we will be back.